Tonight on CTV News, the hunt's on for a driver who slammed their car into this house. Meet Christchurch's newest mayor, well, sort of, and New Brighton community leaders vent their frustration at the council.
Broadcasting across Canterbury, from the CTV studio, this is First at 5.
Good evening. Police are searching for a driver who smashed into a house in Bishopdale this afternoon. Luckily, no one was home when the incident occurred. The driver arrived home a short time later to find his bedroom completely destroyed. It's understood the driver quickly reversed and drove away. Police are still yet to respond to CTV questions again. To other news, and the man behind a prolonged road rage attack which forced a pedestrian to scramble over a barbed wire fence and fatally injured his puppy is in custody tonight for a psychiatric assessment. The 51-year-old North Canterbury businessman was today granted name suppression. The attack happened in Earton on Monday night. The alleged offender will appear in court next month on charges of injuring with intent to cause grievous bodily harm and willful ill treatment of an animal. Well, we know what it's like to be in need after a disaster, don't we? And a Canterbury couple whose business was devastated by Cyclone Pam in Vanuatu is supporting an appeal to give to those affected in the stricken island. Here's Jared McCulloch.
Giving to those who need it most. This container is being used as a drop-off point, chocker full of goods thanks to the kind people of Canterbury. It's been a tough week for the Vanuatu community, devastated by Cyclone Pam, destroying everything in its path, including homes, businesses and livelihoods. But only 6.5 hours away by flight, Canterburyans have jumped on board to help, supplying tents, blankets and even furniture. This Canterbury couple were there when it happened. They own a resort in Port Vila, the capital and largest city in Vanuatu, and they're thankful for the generosity.
There's been total devastation in Vanuatu and people are going to need a lot of help for a long time.
This is the aftermath of their resort. They got off fairly lightly compared to others on the island, left with nothing. And they say it was a surreal feeling when it struck, acting quickly to keep their guests safe.
We were pretty prepared for it and we were had a fair idea of what was coming. We never knew the magnitude of it, and it obviously gave everyone a fright when you get a Category 5 cyclone coming over. But we actually had a a bunker type situation for ourselves, but we had about 35-40 guests in the house at the time, so we had to get them right. We had cyclone shutters up. And
reassuring guests they'll be okay.
Feeding people, making sure they're okay. We had no power, no water, so just explaining how normal services weren't going to work and what they needed to do.
And after the storm had passed, the island was evacuated, with aid and defence groups coming in to help. Around 50 people on the island work at the resort, and around 70% of them have been left homeless, but many of the families have supported them.
A lot of them have lost their homes, and obviously they have to bunk down in another family house or whatever until such time as they can rebuild their house. So they are very resourceful people, and they do very quickly rebuild their houses, and a lot of them have already put their houses back up, although in a very basic manner, and back living there. But they're an incredibly resilient bunch of people.
Around 65,000 people across Vanuatu are homeless. 17 people were killed. David says at this stage, with one container nearly full, they could be seeking another.
Pretty much going to play it by ear and seeing how much stuff's going to be donated. I think by the looks of it, maybe 2 containers of stuff. I know there's a lot of school supplies, and some schools have donated school tables and chairs and things like that. So, all the things we don't think about that's really, disappeared. There's most of the schools on some of the outer islands have just been completely destroyed, so they've got to start right from the beginning. Juliana
is the sister of Rose, working at the local primary school in Christchurch, and says the students have helped out immensely.
Sitting back is not an option. We're taking action to help in any way we can. So our girls are really getting behind this one and bringing clothes in. We've got a lot of girls who are taking action in their own communities, in their own time, if you like, doing some fundraising and just wanting to help out in any way they can.
As we were filming, more items were being added to the massive stock already in the container. A generous gift from a community still working through their own recovery.
The earthquakes have made us think harder about what that's like. We can empathise a little bit with what it's like to go through a natural disaster, and we know what it's like to receive help when it's needed.
The couple are waiting on quotes regarding the cost of repairing the building, and they say they've lost a lot of business, but that's not their immediate focus. They'll be heading back to the stricken island at the end of the week to help out the best they can. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.
And you can send your items to Mackenzie and Willis on Blenheim Road. Well, your newest Mayor of Christchurch enjoys a touch of Shakespeare, criticising the council and wants to spend $2 million on the YMCA. No, it's not Leanne Dalzell. In a new move, Canterburyans are now allowed to have their say during the Christchurch City Council's first Mayor and a Chair session this afternoon. Marcus Gibbs went along.
Move over, Leanne Dalzell. There's a new mayor in the council chambers, half a dozen of them in fact, here to tell the Christchurch City Council how the city should be run. Ideas that can be put forward as part of the long-term plan. During the very first Mayor and the Chair sessions, City Councillors sat back and listened. With such power, what would these temporary mayors say? Well, first up, Shakespeare quotes.
If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh?
Amongst the crowd, there were serious messages to be heard.
You know where to find us. We're at the end of the broken streets, the broken bridges and the broken promises.
Paul Zanen told councillors New Brighton has been abandoned and neglected, not in his role as New Brighton's Business and Landowners Association manager, but as a concerned member of the community. He claims New Brighton has been left to itself following the earthquakes.
Sad reality is that this is being done without your support, without your understanding or your engagement. I run the danger today and being called a carper and a moaner. Once again, New Brighton is coming to you with issues and complaints.
He says he's tried to work with the council by providing solutions for the suburb's problems, but to no avail.
Do you have a plan or do you have a strategy to move New Brighton ahead? These are rhetorical questions because I already know the answer. No, you don't. This proposed budget speaks volumes to these self-evident truths. You really haven't listened.
Throughout his speech, Paul claimed the council wasn't cleaning toilets, replacing rubbish bins or cleaning the streets on a regular basis. Even the $30 million Eastern Recreation Sports facility came under attack.
The previous facility was worth $160 million, but it was underinsured at $77 million, of which it took the lion's share to the CBD for the Metro Sports facility. It's called asset stripping. But wait, you say, we're putting money into a legacy project. How is that project coming along?
But Paul's local city councillor, Glenn Livingston, disputes some of his claims, branding Paul's speech as rather extreme.
There were some generalisations in there, but I think what he's saying is reflecting a part of the community that would always want, more funding and support.
Paul spent time criticising the council's $500,000 master plan for New Brighton.
The only actions you are budgeting is a road extension, and that's it. No follow through at all. You've showed us plans for a new bridge on Pages Road, a gateway you said. Instead, we're lumped with a $500,000 plaster, temporary or so we're told.
And Councillor Livingston agreed in part. The bridges need to be a priority.
We have got a problem with the Pages Road Bridge. We need to ensure that is built because it's under code.
The YMCA's chief executive also had a chance to speak, requesting the City Council backs the YMCA's $8 million renovation with a $1.2 million grant.
We have a project ahead that will make a massive difference for Christchurch, that will help build the community, which will help bring vibrancy and fun back into the central city.
The YMCA's existing stadium needs to be completely renovated to suit modern day use. A community theatre could be built and the YMCA says it's worth it. A permanent street art project based in its building could attract tourists to Christchurch.
So the first in the world museum, which is specifically dedicated to the genre of street art, which isn't just spray painting walls, there's also stick-ups and paste-ups and T-shirts.
Councillor Livingston likes the idea, but says finances are an issue.
There is money there, but it's how it's allocated.
This was the first Mayor and the Chair session, and it was deemed a success.
This is a city post-earthquake. There will be people who are feeling very left out, very angry about that, and actually I think it's way good that we hear that.
There'll soon be further opportunities for people to talk to the council following every council meeting, an idea Josie supports.
It was quite fun sitting in that chair, I have to say. I enjoyed that. I think it's a great initiative. I think it would be great to do that with even more councillors there to hear the ideas.
Following the success of today's Mayor and the Chair session, there'll be 2 further opportunities for debate this Friday and next Wednesday from 12 to 2. But please, no more Shakespeare. Marcus Gibbs, CTV News.
Still to come here on CTV News, we have an update for you, Justin, on the St Bede's boys fiasco. Plus, will New Brighton continue to be neglected? Andrea Cummings from the Community Board joins me next. And welcome back to CTV News. Well, community leaders, as you heard before in New Brighton, are venting their frustration over what they say is another council snub to the seaside suburb. The council's considering closing down Rawiti Golf Club and the South New Brighton camping ground, saying it's strapped for cash. But is it really, and where to from here? Well, Build Pegasus Community Board Chair Andrea Cummings held a public meeting last night to discuss her concerns, and she's with us this evening. And good evening.
Good evening.
You held a public meeting. What was the main reason for that? What sparked you into action?
The main reason, I think, was on Facebook. There was a lot of people venting their frustrations. We were starting to look through the long-term plan that's been recently come out, and we were really disappointed with what we saw. There was just really a lack of follow-through in the promises that we'd had.
When you say lack of follow-through, what do you actually mean by that?
So, for example, the master plan. The community were engaged during the master plan process and put a lot of volunteer time into helping the council with the master plan, and it was an awesome plan and the community were really behind it. But now that the long-term plan has come out, we see that there's next to no funding for the implementation of it, and I think the community are quite gutted.
Do you think that's because, are the councillors to blame? Because what I continue to hear, it's not so much the councillors, it's more the middle management staff that come back and say, here's the advice, close this, do that, and you've got the dogs nodding, like they always do. Yeah. Like the nodding dogs, you know what I mean?
Yes, it does feel a bit like that sometimes. We have some really awesome staff at council that are bending over backwards, and they're a bit gutted as well when the long-term plan came out. So somewhere along the way, we're getting our...
More needs to be done.
Yes.
You heard Paul Zanin today from the Landowners and Business Association at the council there, you know, pretty angry. Do you echo his concerns that this is just more of the same?
It does feel that. It does feel like that, really sadly. We all had high hopes. We were all told this time was going to be different.
But it's not, is it? You're saying it's not different. I mean, they want to close this and that and put a bit of funding here. They would argue, though, Andrea Cummings, that they're doing a lot. You've got funding for QE2, it's coming back. You've got Avonside and the other school, Shirley Boys, going to one side on QE2. The legacy projects, what do you say to that?
Yes, well, apart from the legacy project, all of those other things you've listed are simply replacements from the earthquake damage. Where's the betterment? Where's the improving?
Now, that's interesting you say that. I think that's an important distinction the viewers need to know. What we're looking at here are more replacement options than actually cleaning up the area. But I do want to ask you this question, though. How many people reside in New Brighton?
I think there's around about 16,000.
16,000, okay.
Yes.
Last night you held what I would call a very important public meeting. 50 turned up.
Yes.
No disrespect to you, I got you into the studio tonight because you do a wonderful job of trying to bring people together. But I do wonder whether it's just power of, you know, let's mouth off on Facebook and start these groups. But when meaningful consultation or community engagement is required, you only get 50 people. So perhaps the council's decided, stuff New Brighton, they're not really engaged.
Yeah, well, now's our chance to be engaged. We may have only had 50 people last night, but they were 50 people that left inspired and passionate, and they're already organising meetings on their own back. They're already getting engaged and really starting to encourage the community to have their say in the long-term plan submission.
I was talking to Paul Zanin before on the telephone. He was saying, well, I guess the frustration he feels at the moment is all very well having a mouth off on Facebook and liking something that says, oh, there's a great comment, good on you, Paul. But it's more than that. Meaningful conversation means you turn up to a public meeting if you want change. If the city councillors don't see that, don't expect change.
That's correct, and it's exactly the same with the submissions. I've seen some awesome, fantastic ideas on Facebook. I've seen some great rants. You know, some of them just make you laugh out loud. But what we need is
There's more to just ranting on Facebook, isn't there?
There is. Right. There needs to be action.
So you've got concerns. I mean, I've been speaking to some other people who are residents at the South Brighton camping ground. They're angry because nobody from the council's knocked on their caravan or whatever, what they live in, and said, we're going to close you down.
Yes. I think we need to do better.
Is that another example of the council just failing to communicate properly to the people it's supposed to serve?
Yes, I think that that wasn't handled as tactfully and as carefully as it should. We do have big decisions to make, but we do have to remember that the people's lives and livelihoods that we're playing with.
It's sad, isn't it? Let's discuss some other things within this long-term plan. Okay, so both you and Paul Zinn are basically saying there ain't enough cash for New Brighton in terms of its population. In fact, there is more going over to Sumner with a lesser population. Is that your understanding?
That is what I can understand from it. The long-term plan document is confusing, and it's taken us a while to absorb what is in it and what is missing. It's not an easy thing to understand, but hopefully we're starting to get a picture of that, and so our aim is to get as much information out to the public so they can understand what's in the document and what's not, and then.
I mean, look, it's a big document, it looks boring, but it is incredibly important. I only got about a minute left. What would you be advising residents of New Brighton? What do they need to see in this document to make meaningful change, to put a submission into the council? What's the first thing that comes to your mind when I ask you that question?
So the first thing I think would be we need to see passion in our submissions. We need to see people really getting passionate about New Brighton. We need to do this in numbers. You know, one or two of the community leaders putting a submission in isn't going to be heard. No. We need hundreds and hundreds of people to get on board. I've seen on Facebook today there's people who are getting their children to fill out submissions, getting their teenagers to fill out submissions.
Well, but let's hope that Facebook action transpires into meaningful change, because as I say, you can rant as much as you want on Facebook, it's not going to change a thing. Andrea Cummings, you do a wonderful job inspiring the community. That's why I got you into the program tonight, and I wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much.
And we're going to talk to Paul Zanin on the Lynch program. We might get you back as well. Thank you for your time tonight. Well, to the day's other top story now, and this is just in fact, the lawyer representing the two teenage rowers who took a joyride on a baggage carousel, well, they're now seeking a delay in the court process again. This follows a High Court decision granting a temporary injunction in the case, allowing the two St B students, Jordan Kennedy and Jack Bell, to row in the Māori Cup after the school kicked them off the team for the airport fiasco last week. So late this afternoon, the boys' lawyer made a statement to the media. Andrew Marsh, he confirmed he's applied to the High Court in Christchurch for a short extension of time for more discussions with the court. If this is granted, of course, what does this mean? Well, the boys will simply be allowed to continue the Cup. And you can have your say by heading to my Facebook page on that issue, no doubt. Well, still to come here on CTV News, your region's weather. Welcome back to CTV News. She was here to advocate for good health, and local software company Jade is taking her message very seriously. Olympic cyclist Sarah Ulmer was in Christchurch this week to meet up with staff and students. Jared McCulloch was also there.
It's an exciting day for these IT staff, welcoming a New Zealand Olympic champion to their Christchurch premises. Retired gold medalist Sarah Ulmer is in town, speaking to staff of Jade Software and school students from around Canterbury about the importance of a healthy lifestyle, a big part of the company's values.
Pretty incredible in terms of engaging their staff, motivating their staff, inspiring their staff, and getting involved with the community in terms of high performance and resilience type messages.
This organisation is known for their healthy ways, creating challenges and events in the workplace to improve productivity and their everyday living. And the company's managing director says it's important to adopt the increasing changes in the workplace.
If you look across society, we're asking people to work harder and harder. We've got cell phones that are invading our personal lives. We're having to be online all of the time. And what we've found is it's now really difficult to get a balance between sort of lifestyle and work. So what we've sort of done is try to combine it, and we've introduced a work style, if you like. So introducing a lot of fun into the workplace, but fun that really sort of has a meaning for what we do.
The company operates all around the world, and being in this type of industry requires staff to be on their game.
We're asking our staff to travel everywhere around the globe to implement our software, and being resilient both mentally and physically is a really important aspect of their role in terms of just being able to perform well.
And Sarah says she's surprised by the amount of positive fitness messages being spread around the employees.
I'm feeling utterly unfit walking around all the offices. Everyone here has been doing events and they're eating healthily, and very, very inspiring.
She says there's always time to fit in a fitness routine, and it will help in the long run.
Fitter people are generally happier, and healthier people are generally happier. They can achieve more things, are more productive, better frame of mind. And I think if you can get into that habit, of starting the day with some form of exercise and a generally sort of healthy ethos, you can generally accomplish a whole lot more.
However, David says it's great to see the council adopting fitness zones for the public.
I think in terms of what the council's done, they've put a lot of work into establishing, Bottle Lake and the one out at McLean's Island. I think with the earthquakes it's been particularly difficult. But if you look at the bike lanes that they're introducing around the city, it's pretty good. But I think the big onus is on workplace to actually introduce some of that into, daytime routine for their staff.
Sarah was the first New Zealander to win gold in cycling at the Olympics, taking the medal at the 2004 Athens Games. And she holds an Order of Merit for her services to cycling, being granted a year later after her world win. And even though she's hung up her helmet for competitive cycling, Sarah is still busy working on a new cycle track project called Te Awa, travelling from Cambridge to Hamilton and, of course, looking after her family.
I'm breeding, actually. Yes, I've got two little daughters, a 5 and a 3-year-old. So you're still pretty much full-time with my 3-year-old. Yeah, I'm full-time mum with her, but I also work on a bike path project in the Waikato. So we've built about 25 of those kilometres so far. And
she says it's great to see the region of Canterbury focusing on similar ideas.
Canterbury and Christchurch in particular has got some great plans for cycleways, you know, with the rebuild as well, and they're obviously placing real importance on providing for current cyclists, but also a huge chunk of people that at the moment aren't cycling but would cycle if they had the right environment or felt like they were in a safer environment.
So who knows, maybe more businesses will be inspired to take up fitness challenges as well. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.
And now it's time for your region's weather.
Good evening, Canterbury. It was a much cooler day today. Let's check out your weather. Timaru, Temuka and Geraldine, you're all on 21 today. Ashburn, you're on 21 degrees. Methven, slightly warmer on 23. Rakaia, 21 for you. Darfield, you're on 23 today. Leeston and Rolleston, you shared a warm 22. Lincoln and Christchurch, 22 for you also. Taking a look at Akaroa now, it was 22 degrees for you today. Further north, Kaiapoi, Rangiora and Amberley, you're all on 23 degrees. Culverden, Hamner Springs and Cheviot, you all shared a high of 23 today. Similar picture for you, Kaikoura, 23. Let's take a look at tomorrow's weather now. Timaru will be mostly fine with just some thick high cloud and light southwesterly winds. Tonight's low is 12, tomorrow's high 18 degrees. To Ashburton now, a mostly dry Thursday in store for you with just some high cloud and light southerly winds. Your overnight low is 12, your high tomorrow 18. Taking a look at Christchurch now, a cloudy day is in store for you tomorrow with some high cloud and southwesterly winds. Expect a few spits of rain here and there during the afternoon. Your overnight low is 12, tomorrow's high 18 degrees. Up in Kaikoura tomorrow, a cloudy and cooler day for you with a few afternoon showers expected and some southwesterly winds. Tonight's low is 12, tomorrow's high 18. Taking a look at the other areas around the region now, Temuka and Geraldine, a cloudy day for you on 18. Methven and Rakaia, a similar picture for you, cloudy, 18 degrees. Darfield, Leeston, Rolleston and Lincoln, you all share the cloud and 18 degrees. Over in Akaroa tomorrow, expect a cloudy day at first and that cloud will drift through to the afternoon as well, 18 degrees. Further north, Kaiapoi, Rangiora and Amberley, cloudy day for you, 18. And would you believe it, Culverden, Hamner Springs and Cheviot, you will also expect a cloudy day on 18. Looking ahead for Canterbury now, the weekend starts on Friday for most. It's going to be fine with some sunny periods at first and some high cloud increasing during the day and moderate northeasterly winds. As for Saturday, expect some north to northwesterly winds developing with a mix of sunny periods and high cloud and some warmer temperatures. Taking a look at Sunday now, some thick cloud for you with some mild northerlies at first, but they'll get cooler and turn southwesterly later on. Expect some showers by Sunday night. As for Monday, it'll be mostly cloudy and cool with some southwesterlies dying out and northeasterlies developing. And Tuesday, milder with some sunny periods and high cloud and moderate northerly winds. Expect a few showers and maybe some colder southwesterlies during the afternoon. But for now, that is your weather for Wednesday.
Thanks, Jared, and that's your news update. Have a great evening.
supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.